Καλησπέρα και πάλι. Μετά και αυτό το τελευταίο διάλειμμα δικτύωσης, ας το δούμε, κάπως έτσι το αποκαλούμε. Είμαστε στην τελική ευθεία του φετινού Digital Banking Forum, το οποίο είναι virtual, μέσα από την πλατφόρμα του LiveOn, την οποία μπορείτε να χρησιμοποιείτε κιόλας για δικτύωση, για να δείτε τους χορηγούς, τα booths τους, τα virtual booths τους και να μιλήσετε και να έρθετε σε επικοινωνία. Και γενικώς, από όσο μου λένε, έχει πάει πολύ καλά αυτό. Ήταν ένα στοίχημα και για μας, μια πρόκληση. Πόσο ενδιαφέρον θα υπάρχει. Θα κλείσουμε με 2 fireside chats. Το πρώτο, κανονικά, θα έπρεπε να έχουμε 2 ανθρώπους μαζί μας. Το θέμα είναι από τα πιο ενδιαφέροντα των τελευταίων μηνών, θα έλεγα, στην Ελλάδα. Απλώς έχουμε ένα πρόβλημα με τον συνάδελφο του Δημήτρη του Πρίμπα από το εξωτερικό. Καταρχήν, καλησπέρα Δημήτρη.
Καλησπέρα,
ο Δημήτρης ο Πρίμπας είναι ο Διευθυντής Επιχειρηματικών και Συμβουλευτικών Υπηρεσιών της IBM Ελλάδας και Κύπρου, για την Ελλάδα και την Κύπρο, συγγνώμη. Μαζί του ευελπιστούμε ότι θα συνδεθεί σύντομα και ο James Buckley, ο οποίος είναι Vice President και Director για την Ευρώπη στην Infosys Finacle. Αν δεν την ξέρετε, την Infosys Finacle, καλό θα ήταν να τη μάθετε. Είναι μια πάρα πολύ μεγάλη εταιρεία, πάρα πολύ εξειδικευμένη στο κομμάτι του banking. Είναι συνεργάτης της IBM, έτσι δεν είναι, Δημήτρη? Καλά δεν τα λέω μέχρι τώρα?
Πολύ σωστά. Έχουμε ένα partnership global με την Finacle Infosys και σήμερα θα σας πούμε και πιο πολλές πληροφορίες και λεπτομέρειες στην περιοχή αυτή.
Και επίσης,
είναι από τα πολύ ενδιαφέροντα partnerships.
Μπράβο. Και επίσης είναι και το λέω τώρα και δημοσιογραφικά, μαζί τους έχετε δημιουργήσει ή σκοπεύετε να δημιουργήσετε ένα European Banking Center of Excellence στην Αθήνα. Σωστά?
Σωστά.
Είχατε βγάλει την ανακοίνωση πριν μερικές εβδομάδες.
Το ανακοινώσαμε πριν μερικές εβδομάδες και αυτή τη στιγμή είναι στη φάση υλοποίησης του, έχει ξεκινήσει. Και ο σκοπός είναι να σερβίρει μέσα από την Αθήνα ευρωπαϊκά projects.
Ωραία. Λοιπόν, ελπίζω να έχουμε τον James μαζί μας σε λίγο, αλλά πριν πάμε στον James, ή αν δεν τα καταφέρουμε θα το αναλάβεις εσύ, φοβάμαι όλο, αν και από όσο έχουμε μιλήσει πιο πριν, μια χαρά θα τα καταφέρεις. Συνδέθηκε. Hi, James.
Nice backdrop. I had to move outside to get a mobile internet to work because the main internet had crashed. Apologies.
No problem. These things happened. We had, you know, how things are that. So we're going to switch in English now. In any case,
okay.
James, you should know that Dimitris, we were talking with Dimitris that if you translate Dimitris to English, usually it's James. So we're 3 Dimitris here. So I don't know if that's...
3 Dimitris. Okay, I didn't know that. I learn something new every day. Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's the useless information of the day, as I used to say. But, okay. We just started with Dimitris over here, and we're talking about... a little bit about the center. We haven't started yet. So first of all, I would like from you to tell us a little bit about what is Infosys Finacle, because, okay, most people, perhaps a lot of people in the IT industry could know Infosys, but Infosys Finacle, it's not so well known, at least for me, and I would really like to know. So we have a really small presentation that you're going to show. So I'm giving I'm giving the floor to you for now, and then we'll come back with a conversation about the center. Okay. So
Sure. So just in 2 seconds, and I don't know whether I need to move the slides or someone can move them for me, but Infosys Finacle is a banking software suite of components that's used in a large number of countries. As you see, 100 countries across the world. It is in some instances the banking platform that bank accounts, and we're 1 billion people in terms of having accounts on Finacle, not just in India but a large number of countries around the world, from US, UK, Germany, France, etc., to to the Far East and Latin America, Africa, in all continents, apart from Antarctica, of course. It's not just a sort of a system that runs bank accounts. It's also, over the last 7-8 years, become a component suite for digital change. So Infosys, the company, our parent, is an IT services and software provider, very large provider across the world in IT services, BPO, infrastructure services, and it's about a 12.8 billion turnover company. We're the product company, a wholly owned subsidiary of Infosys. And Infosys in Europe is about 23% of the overall turnover of the company, and therefore Europe is a key market for Infosys. It's also a key market, therefore, for Finacle. As I say, we're a product company and division of Infosys. We have our own technology focus and also our own services focus. And IBM has been a partner of Infosys for a long time, for more than 20 years, Finacle specifically. We're partnering with IBM Global Services to develop our collective services around the Finacle and the fintech software that wrap around Finacle. So if we can move one slide forward, we provide software solutions for different types of financial services organizations and non-financial services organizations. And we also work very closely with an ecosystem of fintechs across the world. Here in Europe, for example, we provide the corporate and retail banking platforms for ING in a number of markets. We work closely with Santander in the digital transformation for cash management and commercial banking. And a number of other clients besides. We also work to provide the components for digital banks, startup banks. So here in Europe, for example, Marcus, which is a Goldman Sachs subsidiary in the UK, is run by, it's a Finacle engine running that digital-only bank. But we also provide services around non-financial industry players, and increasingly we see the financial services world as basically increasingly a platform of financial services and non-financial services player extending out in a much more of a platform way. So increasingly fintechs and technology around digitization is key to the future of financial services. If I move one slide forward and just conclude. So we have what we traditionally people would call core banking components. We run assets and liabilities, lending and deposit products. We also have payment capabilities, cash management and other types of capabilities, but we also provide digital engagement capabilities, system of engagements as we call them, which increasingly is where the banks are investing. So really changing the nature of the interaction with consumers and customers and across their estates with digital experiences. We provide those types of capabilities. So the COE that we're developing with IBM in Athens will support all these different components and initiatives across our European customer base. And we have a number of very active engagements, partly because COVID-19 is driving a need for much more rapid digitization now. So we're seeing a lot of, in the last 12 weeks, a lot of focus on trying to really launch much more rapid digitization of customer journeys in the light of what's going to happen next, where people will be risk averse in terms of sitting down in branches and talking face to face, where digitization is moving the experience to a much more virtual world. But that's, in a nutshell, is Finacle.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting, and we will come back to some of the points that you said. But first, I would like from Dimitris to give me a little bit oversight of what IBM thinks are the trends and the innovation in the banking in the banking sector, and then we will move on to talking about the Center of Excellence.
Thank you, Dimitri. IBM, as most of you know, are working with banks in all the world, with all the major banks in the world. And we really believe that the banking sector right now is at a crossroad. It is obvious that all the banks are facing increased regulation and compliance costs. These are coming from all the new demands for security, fraud, and all the compliance aspects that the traditional banks are facing. But they're also facing competition from non-traditional players in the market. So this makes the challenges in the financial performance of the banks a very important and complex situation that they need to address. We see as IBM that the banks right now are not only focusing on operational excellence and traditional cost takeout actions, but they are mainly focusing on how they will penetrate both the retail and the business customers in a with a more deep and consistent way. That's why we really say that we see from our customers across the world that the customer engagement and the way that they will take decisions and they will create more knowledge and better profiling of their customers coming from the data they have in their core and legacy systems, it's the top priority right now for them. In order to address all these challenges, we really see an approach coming digital first. But in order for this approach to succeed, it's always based on the technology. So it's very important for all the banks how they will create the customer engagement initiatives and how they will embark cloud journeys and leveraging the data they have with a secure way, data coming from the systems they have and the knowledge they have from their customers in a consistent and secure way, and be able with these technologies to penetrate the customer segment that they operate, even say retail or corporate. So we see this change globally, and we have a lot of projects both in Europe and also in Greece working with our customers in the digital transformation journey. And all these innovation things coming from these new technologies, all the traditional big banks are trying to incorporate their current operation with a consistent way. In Europe, we're working with many of them. I can name a couple like CaixaBank. In Greece, we're working with all four big banks. We also have a very strategic bank of agreement for transformation strategy with Bank of Cyprus. It's a project that the bank has selected IBM as the main strategic partner, and we're working with them the last 3 years. So our experience in this segment is quite extensive, and we're happy to work with all the banks towards their journey. In this journey, we're not only working alone, but we are open to partnerships. And one of the main partnerships that we're exploring on a global level is with Finacle Infosys. And that's why also we're established the Center of Excellence in Athens, which is a specific action in our plan for strengthening the partnership with Finacle Infosys in a worldwide level.
Okay, so which one of you is going to tell me what this Center of Excellence is about? Okay, I don't know, James, you can start off telling us what the center...
Sure. Yeah. So from our point of view, obviously we've had a long relationship with IBM over the years, but we have a very, very key focus on Europe from a Finacle point of view. We have a number of key customers across the region and more that are interested in what we have to offer. And we have a localization strategy here in Europe. And to that extent, we also need to ensure that we can bring the best of skill sets from our partners in region. And so Athens is a perfect opportunity for us in terms of partnering with IBM to build a deep knowledge center around the Finacle components. And also to build a collective capability around wider assets between the two organizations, between the other assets that IBM bring to the table that can augment Finacle's capabilities in our implementations, such that we can better support our customers across Europe in our engagements and implementations. So the key for us is to infuse IBM with deep Finacle knowledge to better support our customers across the region.
Okay, Dimitris, before you were saying at the first that the center has already started. So can you tell us a little bit about the plans of if you can tell us, I don't know, the size of it, whatever you can share with us, I don't know.
First of all, this center, also James also mentioned, it's a center with of the strategy that we have between IBM and Finacle Infosys, about the other partnerships as well on the public cloud area that we have onboarded with Infosys, and Infosys is working on that. For the COE specific, which we announced several weeks ago, it has already started. It's a client-centric center of excellence, so the plan is to support customers across Europe. The first phase already started, and the plan is to scale up to several dozens of employees that will work in European customers that IBM and Finacle will support. And as you can understand, it will be evaluated annually in terms of the demand coming from the projects in the Europe that we will work collectively with Finacle Infosys.
It is the only one in Europe, the only center of excellence of IBM and Finacle in Europe. Am I right about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
we want to build a competence in Athens. I mean, if you look at the capabilities in Greece, there's a deep skill set in IT and technology that we want to tap into through IBM and with IBM. And we believe it'll be a very valuable delivery capability, augmented delivery capability across Europe for us in the longer term. A lot of what we're doing at the moment is remote, but that said, we need to make sure that we build those skill sets for the longer term. So this isn't this is going to be a long-term center that builds capability and delivers into projects right across the region. We have active projects in a number of countries across Europe. The team from IBM will be working with us closely to support those implementations and augment what we can do both immediately and in the longer term.
Okay, so you answered also, James, my question about why you selected Athens for this center. You said it's about the talent and
absolutely,
and all that stuff. Yeah. And I would like to ask then now, Dimitris, about what do you believe will be the impact of this center to the Greek fintech and banking ecosystem?
I believe the impact will be in two ways. First of all, as James mentioned, and allow me to make a comment on the previous answer by James. It's very important not only the fact that there is a deep knowledge in the Greek market. We have active partnerships with academia, so we're trying to recruit and retain people coming from academia that will be working on this center of excellence. But also, it's an opportunity for Greek people working abroad to come back in Athens and work in such a high-skilled environment that's required for this center of excellence. So it has two dimensions in terms of the people. Also, it has the dimension that it will create a significant pool of expertise around core banking and digital transformation skills in the Greek market. That this will also can fuel the demand both for fintechs that can be the starting point from ideas that can be developed as a fintech, but also can be the pool of resources that the other banking or the remaining banking sector can leverage in the future in terms of skills and people that can be working in the banking sector in Greece in the next decades.
You mentioned something about getting Greek people coming back to Greece for that center, and there was another question, and I'm going to ask that now because you said that if this is an opportunity for Greece to attract talent, not just Greek guys or girls that they're abroad, but also talent from other countries, if that's an opportunity for Greece to attract that kind of talent. So if you can elaborate a little bit on that, Dimitris, if you can tell us.
Definitely, Dimitri. Definitely, I believe it's the right opportunity to attract both Greek talent working abroad, but also European people that may want to work in this specific area of core banking transformation and digital transformation projects in the banking sector. So I definitely believe on that. What I can comment is that right now, with a plan for evolving projects in the European region together with Finacle, I believe that this opportunity will be even more attractive for European people to work in such a COE established in Athens. We are trying also to advertise this internally within IBM and attract people from all across Europe. So it's something that it's in our strategy.
Okay, James, I don't know if you want to add something to what Dimitris was saying, but also I would like to ask you how the center will influence or change, or what will be the impact for the European ecosystem, the digital banking ecosystem. If you, I don't know.
Certainly, Finacle, in a lot of our programs, some of them are core-centric, but a lot of them are what I call digital backbone-centric. And it will act as a catalyst for further programs across Europe. There's a lot of interest in the assets that we have. In the implementations we have, we regularly work with smaller fintechs that are providing niche capabilities around our digital backbone. And that, depending on who we're working with, we're working, for example, up in Scandinavia with Swedbank, we're working with one of the Irish banks. That will also create a nucleus of knowledge around partner fintechs, both the existing partner fintechs that we have and IBM have, and also fintechs that we're working with as a consequence of implementation. So it will have an effect to concentrate a lot of fintech expertise in Athens around that center, and not just Finacle, but a wider ecosystem of fintech knowledge. So I think the effect will be that it can act, over time, it can act as a knowledge center to augment the fintech industry in Athens and in Greece with a further sort of epicenter of capability.
Okay, you answered also my other question that would be if we will augment or influence the Greek fintech ecosystem, but you answered that already, saying that it will do a lot of. Yeah, no problem with that. But also, it's very important for the European ecosystem, because I think what you're saying is that you provide knowledge and know-how for the whole European ecosystem and help the fintech. So, okay, one last question for both of you. I was asking Dimitris about that, but I also want to ask James, just to sum it up a little bit. If you can tell me, what do you believe are the #1 trends in the digital banking ecosystem for the next couple of years? So let's start with James and then move to Dimitris and wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously we're sort of facing a renewed sort of downturn collectively, and it's global. And so there are challenges in terms of the smaller fintechs at the moment. Certainly sort of funding rounds, I think, are going to be difficult. So there's going to be a change in the fintech landscape. I think there'll be quite a few acquisitions, quite a few fintechs in a distressed mode. So I think there's going to be a dynamic churn in the fintech market, partly because of the market. I think secondly, over the next 2 years, as I mentioned earlier, whilst Greece has been, I wish I'd been born Greek, whilst Greece has been happily managed in terms of COVID-19, most of mainland Europe hasn't. And so systemically across Europe, I think the reticence to engage in the same way prior to COVID-19 is going to affect customer behavior, consumer behavior over the next 2 years. If you look at where that impacts, it impacts the face-to-face key decision-making points. So something like mortgage origination, where really typically your customers will sit with mortgage specialists for 1 to 2 hours in a branch or in a specialist center. That type of interaction is going to be affected fundamentally by COVID. So I think there's going to be a much more rapid shift to digitization over the next 2 years, which will create an increase in investment. So your previous speaker around, for example, the whole aspect of credit scoring, those types of fintechs are going to be very much in need in the next 2 years. I think also the pressure on banks to digitize and restructure their target operating models is going to force a much more rapid change towards digitization. So I think those are going to be the key trends, certainly in financial services. The third one we see is that banks are moving away from what I call banking product manufacturing and distribution towards experience, where they're no longer just providing financial products, but they're actually trying to become ecosystems. So if I take the example of so buying a house, instead of just being the mortgage provider and underwriter, they're looking to become the one-stop shop for all the services, the legal services, various types of interactions between counterparties, knowledge base. They're trying to become systemic one-stop shops, and that's also true of things like health services and other areas. So in the stage lifestyle financial services, where the ecosystem of partners becomes important, I think is also going to come to the fore in the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, James, thanks very much. Dimitris, you want to add something?
Yes, a couple of comments only. The first, I agree with James that the digitization and the customer engagement will be the key focus for all the banks in worldwide. It's obvious that the technology is changing this landscape, and technology platforms, we believe, will be the main advantage, competitive advantage for the banks in the next years and next decade. So it's obvious from all the studies that we have done as IBM. Is the one thing. And the second thing is the banks will start collaborate more and more with not only with customers, but also with other companies, creating ecosystems and creating digital marketplaces and finding new sources of revenue apart from the traditional banking products. So they would create a totally new landscape of platforms and ways of operating for all the banks across the Europe.
Okay. James and Dimitris, thanks very much. It was really interesting conversation. James, I hope to see you in Greece in some months from now to discuss about the center and get me around the center. I don't know, give me a tour of the center.
Absolutely.
So thanks very much. Thanks very much, and see you around.
Thank you. And you.
Thank you.